In 1942, as the nation was mobilizing its war efforts both east and west, the call to join the newest service of the Army, the Air Force, was answered by many young men of Catawba County. Wyley Caldwell would be one of them. Raised in the Buffalo Shoals area of Maiden, Wyley was the son of Clinton and Minnie Caldwell and brother number 4 in this family of 10. Wyley attended school at Balls Creek, and being from a farm family, he would enjoy husking corn and listening to his father play music. Wyley's dream of flying would be realized early on when he and his brothers would bend trees down to launch anything they could, including their younger sibling. In 1940, Wyley graduated from Balls Creek Consolidated School, and in January 1943, Wyley would follow his 3 older brothers Delmar, Eugene, and Andrew into enlisting into military service. Wyley's childhood friend Cletus Lee Burris would join the Army and become part of the U.S. 9th Infantry. Wyley Caldwell worked hard for the privilege of flying, passing many exams and certifications at flight training in Arkansas and elsewhere in order to serve. Wyley was sent to the airfield Old Buckenham in England by December 1943, where he was assigned as a ball turret gunner to the 8th U.S. Air Force 453rd Bomb Group, 735th Bomb Squadron on the consolidated B-24 Liberator named Cabin in the Sky. The 453rd Bomb Group flew missions over Germany and then strategic target missions in France to prepare for the coming land invasion. Once in England, Wyley continued to stay in touch with his mother, reassuring his family that he was ready to face the challenges ahead. Other letters would describe the loss of friends in other units as the war took its toll on air forces. On March 27, 1944, orders came down to target German airfields deep in the foothills of southeastern France. The crew of Cabin in the Sky was specially selected to be the lead group bomber and would be co-piloted by Major Curtis Cofield, whose experience as a former airline pilot earned the respect and rank as the group operations officer. The weather was cold and snowing as the squadron joined with hundreds of other bombers and fighter escorts. Fate would not be fortunate to the crew of Cabin in the Sky. After a successful attempt in bombing the German airfields, the return flight would be treacherous as enemy anti-aircraft were by now well aware of the massive mission taking place. While over the Bay of Biscay in France, a direct hit struck Cabin in the Sky from German naval anti-aircraft fire. Although it was reported that most of the crew had parachuted, none of the crew members would survive. Mama Caldwell would declare the next morning that she knew something had happened to her son. She described a dream where she could clearly see Wyley in the sky and that they were both calling out to each other. Then Wyley became quiet and said, "Mama, I'm okay. Don't worry anymore. I'm okay." Days passed and word finally came by telegram that Wyley was reported missing in action. The worst was confirmed on July 22, 1944, when the family received another word through the Red Cross that Wyley was killed in action on March 27th. The loss of the crew and the beloved Major Cofield also had a devastating moral impact on the 453rd. So, on March 30th, 1944, Lieutenant Colonel James Stewart was assigned as the new Group Operations Commander, having been previously a commanding officer for a bomber squadron. The classic film star who had implored tens of thousands to join the Air Force in 1942 would also be leading these same men into air combat and flying with them. During the liberation of France, Wyley's friend Sergeant Burris was killed in action with the U.S. Army's 9th Infantry on September 14, 1944. Both friends would posthumously receive the Purple Heart for their sacrifice in World War II. In 1945, the family received notice that Wyley would also be awarded the prestigious Air Combat Medal, whose inscription reads, "For exceptionally meritorious achievement while participating in 5 separate bomber combat missions over enemy-controlled continental Europe. The courage, coolness, and skill displayed by this enlisted man upon these occasions reflect great credit upon himself and the armed forces of the United States." Staff Sergeant Clinton Wyley Caldwell will always be remembered by his family as a God-fearing, fun-spirited guy who worked hard and was ready to stand up for his country.